doctrine, any doctrine void of making a Eightfold Path, there is no samana who has extinguished kilesas. In another sense, if one does not develop the path, then one cannot extinguish kilesas. That has become a definite principle or niyama, fixed law. Hence, the late Venerable Mahasi Sayadaw has given this maxim, aphorism, that without the practice of Eightfold Path, there cannot be anyone who extinguishes kilesas. Now this aphorism or principle is in accordance with the Buddha's assertions. And the meaning is also very exact and definite. And there is no excess or unnecessariness or biasness, partiality. It is quite obvious. In whatever teaching there is not the Eightfold Path, or in whatever teaching the noble path, the practice of Eightfold Path is not taught, or those who follow such path, such doctrine, will be devoid of any samana to extinguish kilesas, samana of the first path, second path, third path, and final path. That is quite definite, because it has become a fixed law, niyama. In this era, nowadays, both inside and outside the country, some people are teaching contrary to the Buddha Dhamma, saying that whatever they teach is right, and if only you follow their teaching, you can accomplish the purpose. You don't need to even undertake the practice, and so on. Such teachings are tantamount to preventing the practice of the Dhamma, especially the practice of the Eightfold Path. Buddha himself have mentioned this mega satya, the truth of the path leading to the extinction of suffering, nibbana. It is quite exact and definite, saying that this mega satya, the truth of the path, is to be developed by Vedapa. It's quite obvious. Especially obvious is when he gave the first sermon, Dhammacakka Bhavadana, turning on the wheel of the Dhamma, in which he said, Tankopanidam, Dukkha Nirodha Gamini Patipada. Dukkha Nirodha Gamini Patipada.
Ariya Satya.
This is the truth, the noble truth, which is the path, noble truth of the path leading to the extinction of suffering. That means the Eightfold Path leading to Nibbana. Is the truth to be developed, Bhavitapa, and so on. Not only in the Dhammacakka Bhavadana, the first sermon of the wheel, turning of the wheel of the Dhamma, but also in several subsequent discourses. Now, to practice the Eightfold Path, one must understand the correct method, the correct path. Then only one will be able to accomplish the purpose. If one does not undertake the practice, then one will not accomplish the purpose. However, some people are teaching that if you undertake the practice, if you practice meditation, it will be tantamount to suffering. It will be painful, tiring. Whatever you do, if you do something, you get tired. It will be painful, a lot of suffering. So if you don't do anything, it is peace. There is peace and tranquility, and there is no need to practice. In this way, they discourage the practice of the noble path of Eightfold Path, and such teachings exist both inside and outside the country. Even for those who have a chance to undertake this practice, they will not take it very seriously. They will not practice steadfastly or energetically, calling themselves that their practice is Majjhima Patipata, the middle path. Last month it was given this verse in which it is said that mentioned the Sabbadukkha Pamojana, which is the rendering of Nibbana. Nibbana is the state which is free from all suffering of beings, where one can be liberated from samsaric suffering. That is given by this expression. So all beings are enduring suffering physically, mentally. So everybody wants to be free from suffering. Everyone wants to be liberated from suffering. It is commendable. It is welcome, good. It gives assured happiness. As for other kind of happiness and enjoyment like sensual pleasures, they may be good to some extent. But if you become devoted in sensual pleasures and enjoy sensual pleasures, then such pleasures are harmful and can be fatal. As for Nibbana, Nibbanic happiness, it is just the reverse. It is harmless, deathless, and gives assurance. Buddha has assured in this way. So, when trying to realize this assured happiness, people are practicing in a very relaxed way, in an easygoing way. So, not realizing that by going easy they cannot attain this Nibbanic goal. However much the Buddha has given this goal, however much they are reminded, they would not take the trouble of enduring physical and mental pain or suffering in order to undertake this practice, saying that what they are doing is Majjhima Patipata, the middle way. In a sense, this is just an easygoing way. Those who believe in such teachings that the practicing in an easygoing way is Majjhima Patipata, the middle way, will such people be able to undertake the practice of no bodily constituents, the meditation, the development of the eight paths? It is something, it's a food for thought. Saying that practicing in an easygoing manner, in a relaxed manner, is what is meant by Majjhima Patipata, the middle way or the middle path. So it's something to be considered. Will such people practice with dedication, in a devoted manner, to realize real happiness? Or will they be really undertaking the practice of Eightfold Path? So if they say that what they are doing is Majjhima Patipata, so it is tantamount to say that a dedicated practice by cutting down one's sleeping hours, cutting down other things like eating, fasting in the afternoon, and so on, practicing systematically amounts to Adakila Yoga, the practice of one extreme of self-mortification. It is tantamount to saying that, in fact, they are not fully aware of the meaning of this self-mortification, the practice of self-mortification, Adakila Yoga. If they are practicing what they say, the middle path, in an easygoing way, eating and sleeping and so on, then how about when they come across desirable objects, they are bound to crave for different objects. There will be likes and dislikes. They will be overcome by these impurities, likes and dislikes, liking desirable objects and not liking undesirable objects. So, because they are following this easy-going path, it is tantamount to practicing the other extreme, Kama Sukhalika Yoga, that is self-indulgence. Automatically, it is tantamount to the practice of self-indulgence. So, they are not able to be free from these two extremes. In this way, it is something to be thought about. So the practice says that one must be free from, or one must discard the karmic pleasures of senses. One must be free from, one must be free from the enjoyment of sensual pleasures. That is what is given for the correct practice. So, if one leaves the mind uncontrolled, indulging in oneself, self-indulgence, not controlling one's mind correctly with mindfulness of deed, then what will happen? One will be craving for sensual pleasures, such as seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, pleasurable sight, enjoying pleasurable sight, pleasurable sound, and so on. Thus, one will crave for sensual objects, become attached to it, and hang on to them, grasp them. Such is one extreme of self-indulgence, Kama Sukhalika Yoga. As for others, another extreme, they go to another extreme. That is taking that the sensual pleasures, one indulges in sensual pleasures because one is physically strong. One of the body is strong, one's hormones are very strong, and so on. So one must weaken these things, physical materialities. Then, if we weaken them, we make them weak and not strong, then we won't have enough energy to enjoy sensual pleasures. So they think in the terms. So in order to weaken their body, they would forego food. They would not eat enough food. And they might sometimes torment themselves, torture their body, such as sleeping on thorns or lying upside down like beds, or sometimes in one posture like standing or sitting continuously for a very long time, or dipping in the water when in cold weather, and so on. In this way, they would torture their own body. And this amounts to physical tiredness, one extreme of physical tiredness, self-mortification, Kilamdana Yoga, by which one will not accomplish anything. So Buddha himself has preached the Dhamma, not to leave the mind uncontrolled, not to indulge, not to practice self-indulgence, sensual pleasures, and at the same time one must not go to extremes. So if one goes into extremes, or if one practices in a very easy-going manner, it will amount to self-indulgence again, Kama Sukhalika Yoga. So one will not be free from these two extremes. As for this self-indulgence, Kama Sukhalika Yoga, one extreme or practice happens because one is not able to develop insight knowledge, seeing the nature of experience, such as the mind and body, the conditionality, and the universal characteristics, such as things arise and pass away, they are not permanent, and they are unsatisfactory, and they arise on their own, at their will, not at your will, they are ungovernable, uncontrollable. Because they are not able to see the nature of these objects with the insight, knowledge, they go to this extreme of self-indulgence. Once they see the truth, such as seeing the impermanent nature of experience, life experience, then they will overcome this perception of permanence, or view of permanence. Once they see the unsatisfactory nature of experience, then they will be free from the perception or view of pleasure. Once they see that things are happening on their own, not at your will, then they will become free from these wrong views. Because they are not free from these perceptions or views, they indulge in sensual pleasures. Once they are free from these wrong perceptions, wrong views, then there will be no craving nor grasping for desirable objects, thinking that they are pleasurable. So, being free from this craving and grasping and clinging, they are free from this one extreme of self-indulgence, yoga. Then they will be abstaining. They will not be free. They will be free from walking the wrong path. This is how to abstain from walking the wrong path with the knowledge. So this correct method of practicing and undertaking the practice of Vipassana and developing the insight knowledge. One is doing it in order to avoid these two extremes. For instance, one is not living or staying, practicing without eating anything. One is not totally fasting. Instead, one is eating to some extent in a suitable way. And one is not practicing by living naked, not wearing any clothes. But one is wearing clothes in a suitable way. One is adjusting the weather conditions, heat and cold, as one is suited in. And also one is not just practicing with one posture all the time. One is also balancing these postures by sitting and walking alternately. And one is not practicing without sleeping at all, foregoing sleep. One is also sleeping suitably, in a suitable way for a fixed amount of time. And also one is not torturing one's body in other ways. So one is free from one extreme in this practice, because one is walking the middle path. One is not torturing oneself. There's no self-mortification. One is adjusting oneself as regards food, postures, heat and cold, and so on. So, by doing that, will it be tantamount to torturing the body by adjusting one's food, drink, sleeping hours, posture, something like that? Will it be tantamount to self-mortification? So if it is not self-mortification, if it is not self-torture, then one will be free from one extreme of Adakilamathana yoga, extreme of self-mortification. In this way, by explaining these two things, we are practicing in accordance with the wishes of the Buddha. This becomes very apparent. So to be free from one extreme of self-mortification, Adakilamathana yoga, we are eating in a suitable way what we should eat. We are taking food as much as in a suitable way. We are wearing clothes in a suitable way. We are adjusting our postures, such as sitting, walking, and so on, in a balanced manner. And sometimes we are also resting. Resting means only when you rest, only when you are fast asleep. As for the rest of the time, should be devoted to practice. There's no such thing as resting time or interval, just like in your school or whatever. There's no such interval. In a strictest sense, the interval is only when you sleep, first sleep. Because if you take rest physically or mentally, kilesas will not rest. They are every moment they are very active. Because if you're not mindful, kilesas are bound to enter your stream of consciousness. If you're mindful, then you overcome kilesas. So you rest only when you are fast asleep, not otherwise. If you're resting, otherwise, then kilesas, you are allowing kilesas to enter, to invade you, to attack you. So if we are giving instructions like this, some people may complain, how is it? Meditation teachers are tightening up the screws. It's too tough. How come? Are they just asking us to do the impossible? It is not the meditation teachers who are asking you to do the impossible, because the Buddha himself, with great compassionate feeling, Mahakaruna, has given this practice of Satipatthana, because if you don't apply mindfulness, kilesas, you are allowing kilesas to enter. So, in order to overcome kilesas, or not to allow kilesas to enter, he has given the practice of Satipatthana. So, the Buddha himself has given this practice. It is not the meditation teachers, because the Buddha has given this practice, has exhorted the beings to undertake the practice with great compassionate feeling. So, not to torture your body, which is one extreme. You are eating, sleeping, clothing, adjusting, eat and go in a suitable way, in a proper way, so that you'll be free from one extreme of self-modification. So, by doing this, adjusting your food, sleeping hours, postures, and eat and go, taking bath and things like that, taking shower, and other things, by doing this, you are being mindful. You are not allowing kilesas to enter your stream of consciousness, because you are following the middle way. So you are not free from this kamasukalika, self-indulgence at the same time, which is another extreme, by being mindful and fully aware of every arising. So, if you don't do this, you are allowing kilesas to enter. If you're not mindful and fully aware, you'll be overcome by these kilesas such as likes and dislikes, craving, aversion, in respect of the sensual pleasures which you come across, such as pleasurable sights, pleasurable sound, and things like that. However, because you are continuously noting, being mindful and fully aware, you are not allowing kilesas to enter your stream of consciousness. If you are doing that, if you are noting continuously, these impurities, corruptions will not have a chance to arise, such as raga, lobha, greed, craving, lust will not have a chance to arise in the stream of consciousness. So in this way, you are abstaining from walking one extreme of kama, sukalika, yoga, self-indulgence. Such is the real practice of the middle path, the middle way. And the Buddha himself has practiced and given these instructions, not to torture your body, not to indulge in sensual pleasures, and walk the middle way, freeing yourself from these two extremes. So if you walk this path with the practice of Sila, the three trainings, with the practice of morality, you'll be able to overcome transgressive defilements, the coarse forms of impurities. And with the practice of concentration, samadhi, you'll be able to overcome from obsessive, the medium form of impurities. then with the cultivation of knowledge, then wisdom, you'll be free from the latent tendencies of corruptions. So in this way, these three categories of impurities, which are the causes of suffering, will not enter you, will not invade you. You'll be free from them. And in this way, you are tranquilizing or subduing, overcoming these three categories of impurities on a part-time basis for the practice of insight, in order to progress along the path towards the state of Achanta Nirodha, the full-time cessation, full-time extinction of kilesas. The Buddha himself has taken up this practice and preached the Dhamma which he has practiced. So in spite of that, they think, I mean those people who claim themselves as being better than the Buddha, they claim that their practice is Majjhima Patipada, the middle way. Well, we can just find out or examine whether the practice of Satipatthana, or even if one practices Satipatthana, one is practicing in an easygoing way, in a relaxed manner. Can there be any practice of Eightfold Path? That is something to be thought about. The answer is no, in the negative. If there is no practice of the Eightfold Path, how can there be any samana who has extinguished the kilesas? There cannot be. Even if one is practicing in a relaxed manner, easygoing manner, if one practices in an easygoing way, eating, sleeping and all that, in due course one will become a chronic yogi, not a dedicated yogi, chronic yogi, so that one will not be able to gain insight in an extraordinary manner. So even there cannot be, in such a teaching and such a practice, there cannot exist a person who has gained insight. So if one is practicing but not in a very dedicated manner, then there cannot be any person who even gains the insight. So in whatever teaching, there is this, in accordance with the Buddha's assertions and fixed law. In whatever teaching or whatever doctrine, where one says that one need not undertake the practice because it is very tiring, physically tiring, why do anything, better do nothing. Or even if one has to practice, one will not do it in a dedicated manner. One will be doing it in an easygoing manner, in a relaxed manner. There cannot be any samana of the fast path. That means anyone who has extinguished the kilesas. In the 9 ways of sharpening the controlling faculties, there was mentioned this factor, one of the factors, namely, one should practice without regard to one's body and life. That one should not think about suffering physical pain. One should not be afraid of losing one's life. One must be able to practice at the risk of one's body and life. Only when one does that, one will be able to enhance the practice of Virya Sati Samadhi, the concentration group, and will be able to progress along the path, along the successive stages of insight from basics. Then one will come to say to oneself, this is quite correct, coming to confirmation, definite confirmation. And thus one will be able to build up these controlling faculties, the dominant factors, namely sada, faith and confidence. There will be this dominant factor of faith and confidence. One will be able to come to acceptance with clear mind, and then the ardent energy the controlling faculty of ardent energy also will arise. And so will be the mindfulness, sustained mindfulness, and then the deepened concentration, samadhi, leading to panya. So, if, however, one is regarding one's body, that means one has consideration for one's body, being afraid of pain, and one is practicing not at the risk of one's life, but being afraid of death, then if one is doing like that, then it may take year after year. Some say that they have practiced something like 30 years, but if when they are asked, there's nothing definite about their practice. It's just a kind of Majjhima Patipara, the middle way, their own middle way of easy going, and so that they become chronic yogis. And later, some people became teachers from notes, and it's wonderful to think about it. So, in the practice of a four path, one has got to practice the risk of one's body and life. Only then one will accomplish the purpose. Otherwise, one cannot accomplish one's purpose by any means. So, as regards the possibility and impossibility of the practice, of the target of accomplishment, has been given in the Samyutta Nikaya, which is given as whoever it may be, monks or lay person, may he, she be Deva, celestial being, Brahma, anybody, there's no specification. If one is alienated from the practice of full way of mindfulness, or if even one practices, one is not fulfilled with that, then one will be alienated from the practice of the noble path by its constituents. So, in other words, it goes without saying that if one is able to undertake fully the practice of Satipatthana, the four foundations of mindfulness, then it is given that one is said to be fulfilled with the practice of the Eightfold Path. This shall be continued tomorrow.